Hey everyone, and welcome back to another World of Warcraft video. Today we're going to be talking about patch 8.1.5. This is going to be the first patch for World of Warcraft in 2019, and it will follow the soon-to-be-released patch 8.1. Now, being a 0.5 patch, it's got slightly different goals than most of the other types of patches in the game, so it's going to be adding in some new features, new convenience items, the sort of thing where if features are ready, they may as well throw them into one of these minor patches instead of holding them back for a big major one like patch 8.2 Rise of Ashara. And that's mainly what we're going to see here. However, being a 0.5 patch, that's typically when they decide to unlock the new raids. Now, of course, if you think back to Argus, 7.3 brought Argus, but it was only 7.3.5 that unlocked the raid. So this is very likely also the patch that will unlock the Siege of Dazar'alor raid. I would probably imagine in very late January or sometime in February. So let's just get right into it with the new features that are coming to this patch. So first up, we have an addition to the Darkmoon Fair. The roller coaster is finally open, so there you go, there's that. I'm sure I'll spend hundreds of hours there. And they also talked about just generally updating some more stuff in the Darkmoon Fair. So 8.1.5 is probably going to have a little bit of care for the Darkmoon Fair. Then moving on to Children's Week, that will have Kaltirans and Zandalari children in it because, of course, they want to update that for the new allied races. Of course, the allied races, let's talk about those. The Zandalari trolls and Kaltiran humans are going to be added in this patch. That generally makes sense, of course, because the raid happens. I'm not particularly sure how they'll specifically unlock this, because I would imagine that maybe those allied races would perhaps be unlocked through their quest line, after the final LFR wing opens up or something like that, because narratively speaking, the Zandalari trolls and Kaltiran humans join us after the Siege of Dazar'alor raid actually happens. But of course, yeah, new allied races, I've already covered what they are and what they do in a previous video though, so that's what's up with them. Next, we have some new micro-holidays. There is the Wanderers Festival in Krasarang Wilds, we've got a diving festival in Vashir, and we have Shirt Day, where apparently shirts happen, so yeah, there's that. Moving on, though, we've got time walking for Warlords of Draenor. Now, Warlords of Draenor, understandably does conjure up fears. It was not the brightest time for the game, but you know what? The Warlords of Draenor dungeons were actually pretty fantastic. Okay, I mean, one or two of them were maybe a little bit odd, but thinking about a dungeon like, say, Auchindoun, which was extremely, I would say, simple, clear, and very well designed. A really great dungeon. We've got Shadowmoon Burial Grounds, which is another fantastic dungeon, and we're seeing these all be brought into the time walking system, along with two new mounts, which are extremely cool looking. Yeah, it's, if only we got mounts like that instead of an endless amount of boars, maybe that expansion would have been, I don't know, fun for another week. In terms of the specifics, we've got Auchindoun, we've got Bloodmaw Slag Mines, we've got Shadowmoon Burial Grounds, we've got Skyreach, we've got Iron Docks, and then the Everbloom. I don't really know if I want to see more Iron Docks. For whatever reason, I ended up doing that a lot. But as for the other ones, I think they're all really great dungeons. And yeah, I'd love to see them time walking. It's really unfortunate because they would have been great for Mythic Plus. It's such a pity Mythic Plus was an expansion late, because it could have saved quite a lot of Warlords of Draenor. So there you go, some new time walking. Next, though, we have new portal rooms. So these are kind of interesting. There are consolidated portal rooms that are being added into Stormwind and Orgrimmar. It's interesting because this is it absolutely is a change in philosophy, because remember way back when they removed the Dalaran portals, and they kind of did that saying they didn't really like how small it made the world feel, but I suppose at this stage, they do just have a lot of portals. They're spread around the place. Sometimes it's a bit confusing. Their example was, the Ashran portal in Stormwind Keep. So because of all that stuff, they've decided to consolidate them into new rooms. So there you go. A bunch of mages are out of business, but I think, well, hey, that's kind of convenient. I'd say that's probably something that will make players reasonably happy to see. Then moving on, we have updates to the Brawlers Guild, and this is a bigger update than most, I think. So there's a new season of the Brawlers Guild. That just means that a lot of your, the old bosses that you knew, they're back, they're rebalanced so that they work with Battle for Azeroth, but there's also 5 new bosses being added to the Brawlers Guild. So that's Mama Stormstout, Philip, Carter Tracy, Robe Robber Robert, Tide Mistress Shellbreaker, and Zax Dreadslice. So that's some new people for us to fight, but what's interesting is that they're finally starting to do a little bit more with the Brawlers Guild. So there's going to be a quest line. So somebody has been murdered. We've got to work out who's done it. I'm sure that will be quite an interesting little conspiracy for us to run about on. I think there's a shirt reward from that as well. Of course, the Brawlers Guild is known for giving us shirts, but that's not all in terms of cosmetic rewards, because we're getting new transmog sets. These pretty cool brawler looking ones. Okay, like they're not super big flashy things, but I think they're pretty on theme for the Brawlers Guild, so that's nice to see as a transmog reward. And again, the more that Blizzard decided to step away from doing the class sets, I think the more they need to put in other transmog sets for other parts of the game. So it's good to see that happen. And then we also get a new mount, which is Bruce. You can ride around Bruce. Of course, the Crocolisk with the big things on its mouth. So that's a pretty cool looking mount. But that's not all for this patch, because we've got to talk about professions. Professions were, I think, a little bit left behind. They weren't really amazing in this expansion, but Blizzard have decided to add in new Tools of the Trade quest lines. So these are quest lines based on the professions, and for each profession they will give you some sort of special item, ability, or effect. So let's just go through them. We've got the Kazgorian Hammer for blacksmiths. So using this allows you to repair a piece of equipment instantly, and when crafting blacksmithing armor or weapons, there's a chance that your armor or weapon will be given the indestructible property. So I suppose that's kind of nice to have, I suppose. Cut down on some repair bills. Next, for the alchemists, we've got Silas's Sphere of Transmutation. It's kind of interesting. So it says, concentrate on the sphere to transmute it into another object for 1 hour, highlights and allows the player to interact with various cauldrons on Kulturas and Zandalar. So I'm assuming this is giving you access to some new buffs for world content, and then whatever this transmuting the sphere is. Next, for the scribes, we've got the Sanguine Feather Quill of Lanathel. Siphons the blood of the dead around you, restoring your own health in the process, and allows for the creation of blood contracts. No idea what a blood contract is. Sounds pretty cool, and I suppose it's kind of interesting having scribes getting another big self-heal. It's sort of nice that we're just getting little bits of unique flavor for everyone. Next, for the engineers, we've got the Uber Spanner. So this is kind of cool. Basically, it enables you to craft Uber constructs, and when you use it, it will summon one to assist you for 20 seconds. It seems like there are different types of Uber constructs that you can use. So that seems kind of interesting. I guess some sort of mechanized fountain. You'll be able to select ones based on your playstyle choice. Next, for the enchanters, we've got De Winter's Rod of Animation. Consume 1 veiled crystal to animate an inert golem. Gain extra resources when disenchanting. So gaining extra resources, that's pretty damn major. That, of course, that's playing with the economic gears and balance, and then it lets you animate an inert golem, so maybe that's some sort of guardian for you. Next, we've got Jewel Hammer's Focus for the Jewel Crafters. So using the focus, carefully extract an embedded gem from one of your socketed items. So you can take a gem out of an item without destroying the gem. That's definitely something that's kind of new, and it also allows the holder to interact with shrines around Kulturas and Zandalar, focusing the light from the zone through the lens in order to create a geode of gems. So that again seems like something that's getting you gems and playing with the resource mechanics of the game. Next, for the Leatherworkers, we've got the Mallet of Thunderous Skins. So using this will summon a special mount that can only be ridden within Kulturas and Zandalar. That's pretty damn unique. So, that's really cool. Then it allows the player to interact with special drums around Kulturas and Zandalar, which gives you a buff for 1 hour. A few of these buff effects are almost reminding me of the shrines from the Time of the Sile, which I thought were pretty cool. Next, we've got the Synchronous Thread for the Tailors. This allows synchronous tailors to mend tears in the fabric of time. Well, that seems kind of powerful. The threads of time sew cloth from the past, present, and future. Cloth displaced in time can be found more often in the world. I have no idea what that does, but hey, it's at least got some pretty cool flavor to it. So it's definitely nice to see a little bit more love being given to the professions. But that's not all for this patch, because we also see some changes for the PvP players, including one that is actually very interesting indeed. So, we have got visual remasters of Warsong Gulch and Arithai Basin. Now, they were very clear to say it's the same geometry and same gameplay, but with new visuals. And you know what? They look really nice. I'm perfectly happy to have updates to content like this. I don't feel particularly tied to the visuals of those zones, and the new ones seem like they are very much in the spirit of the old versions. So yeah, it just looks a bit nicer. The gameplay is the same. Overall, I'd say that's pretty nice to have, a bit like when they revamped one of the arenas pretty recently. Then we have something that is very different. Now, technically, this is just a new PvP brawl, so, it's not going to set the world on fire, but it's technologically is different because they showed this PvP video and then at the very end said, that was players versus AI. So there's a new brawl coming called the Arathi Comp Stomp, and it's players versus AI. So essentially they are using the Island Expedition AI as a PvP team. And to me that's extremely interesting because it's opening up the floodgates for different types of content. If these AI can be a viable, like competing force against a bunch of actual players, what does that mean for world content? What if little teams of AI were running around kind of like smart rare mobs in the world? That would be really cool. So basically this is, I think, just Blizzard doing a safe test. That's really what the brawls exist for. They can play around with wacky ideas in a safe manner where they don't have to commit to anything. So if this turns out being really good and really effective, then totally interested to see if we get some new uses of that AI system that they developed because, it's cool in Island Expeditions, but I feel like having smart NPCs could be used for so much more than that. So there you go. That is patch 8.1.5. Not going to set the world afire with, crazy new big slices of content, but I think a very welcome addition, lots of pretty solid things, and it is sandwiched between the pretty good-looking patch 8.1 and I think the very good-looking patch 8.2. So overall, I'd say a decently healthy-looking future for the game. Let me know what you think about this patch and the other BlizzCon content down in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.